Well, welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Bewear. So Bewear is going to be a normal fighting typing. We don't see this too often because it's on the Meloetta and the Mega Lopunny, but it does have a nice little 4-4 split. There's going to be 4 things that threaten us and 4 things that do not. So fighting, flying, psychic, and fairy are going to hit us for super effective damage, and then we have the immunity to ghost with the resistances on rock, bug, and dark. So think about it like fighting, and then just the 2 little changes from the normal typing, and you are good to go. Offensively, like, the more I just do these guides and the more I look into the power of fighting type Pokemon, like, that offensive on the fighting is just really solid right there, and then it kind of pairs with the normal okay, that we are at least able to crush through those rock and steel type Pokemon that resist our normal type attacks. Everything else is pretty solid, either a super effective or a neutral hit, but we do have to worry about ghost type Pokemon because we just can't hit them at all. Looking at the stats of Bewear, this is a very interesting stat breakdown. Once again, very low speed, very high offensive stats, and above average bulk. So 120 on the hit points is definitely going to make us a fluffy little Pokemon right here to soak up a lot of damage. We have 125 on the attack, then we have just okay defense and special defense. So pretty much it's going to be like full hit point, full attack investment, and then just carrying that over with the Bewear. So let's go on over to Cerebi and see how the Bewear works, and it's mostly going to be off of that fluffy ability. Halves the damage taken from moves that make direct contact, but doubles that of fire-type moves. So if you're running the Fluffy, just think that now you have a fire-type weakness added on to everything else, but having the damage of almost every physical attack. Now, it's only the ones that make direct contact, so this does not affect moves like Earthquake and Stone Edge, since those do not make contact. But that just kind of shows we have a huge amount of defense right there. So effectively like 120 on the hit points and then even more on defense with a 125 attack. That's going to be pretty solid. Now, the moveset for Bewear is not super impressive. It's pretty much going to be normal and fighting, but we run some high base power moves. That the average for base power is around 85, 90, but at least we have the Hammer Arm. We're slow, so we don't care about that speed drop. That's going to give us a 100 base power stab move. We run the Return with a max friendship. That's going to be another 100 base power move, and then the rest is up to coverage and whatever you want. And we have a little bit of coverage right there. We run the Earthquake. We have Elemental Punch coverage. Kind of like we're missing the Fire Punch, but that's okay right there. And then if we want to, we have like Endure and Wide Guard to play around with. So let's go on over, hop into Pokemon Showdown and see how to use Bewear. So Fluffy plus Assault Vest, like that just writes itself right there. Pretty much going to be getting boosted defenses against almost every attack, unless it's a physical attack that does not make contact. And then we just have the right amount of coverage, like Ice Punch with Hammer Arm, Return, Earthquake. We're going to crush a lot of opponents really well, and then we just have a pretty good damage spread just across the board right there. So Hammer Arm does lower the user's speed by 1 at the cost of that 100 base power, and the 90% accuracy can screw you over from time to time. Yeah, we just play slow, we play bulky, and then we try to nuke our opponents with either coverage or very powerful same type attack boosted moves. Looking at some other things that you can run on the Bewear, this is not a moveset, but it's the other coverage. That if you think about Bewear, and you just try to avoid all special attacks, that's something you can do as well, because Fairy-type Pokemon still very scary, and you just bring in Bewear, use that Choice Band, and now you just run as much damage into the opponent as possible, max out the attack, max out the hit points, then you kind of use whatever you need. So it'd pretty much be like this set, Choice Band, and then also just looking into some of the other damage options that you can run. Mega Kick is an interesting one. So Mega Kick is going to be insane levels of personal preference. Also, we do have the Double Edge. So Double Edge is going to be 100% accuracy, but you take recoil. And for a bulky Pokemon, I think that recoil might be too much if you take a really substantial hit. But with the Mega Kick, so this is for you guys that love playing that gamble. If you play Focus Mist and you call it Focus Blast instead, that's going to be for you. If you run the Stone Edge thinking that that 80% chance isn't going to screw you over, Mega Kick, I feel, could be for you because it's 75% accuracy. So it's kind of in the middle right there. It's around a Hydro Pump Stone Edge accuracy, just a little less, but you have that 120 base power with the stab, with the Choice Band. That is neutrally killing a lot of Pokemon right there. Looking into some other things that the Bewear can do, I was thinking like, we have Endure, so why not go for a Boost Berry? That we have the Salac Berry, so that means we can, you know, use Bulk Up. We're tanky. Like, we still have inherent tankiness, even with, like, a full jolly attack speed investment kind of going on for us. So we have that tankiness. That means we bulk up, we go +1, and then we endure, we drop down to 1 hit point, Salac Berry activates, and then our Flail does absurd amounts of damage. That our Flail is going to be at 200 base power with stab at +1. that's really nice to have on the Bewear. The only drawback to this is that now Bewear's speed kind of hinders us. If it was a 70 base speed, we'd be able to outspeed more. We'd be able to just run away with this. But a jolly 60 base speed Pokemon, it's not going to outspeed much. That we're pretty much able to catch up to 115 base speed Pokemon. So understand that if your opponent has like a lot of really fast sweepers or something that's trying to build up into speed, it can give problems for the Bewear, but this is late game. If you use Bewear at the right time where they have bulky attackers as well, like that's just one of the strange things about the way that the 7th generation meta kind of plays out. So Bewear is slow, but if the opponent's also running a lot of bulky, slower Pokemon and you can get that right endurance to the 1 hit points, now you're outspeeding most of the Pokemon, and 115, it's a really good speed tier, so make sure you try to clear out all of the just guaranteed fast Pokemon, all the sweepers that they have on their team. You bring in Bewear, you set up against it, and then the only thing that really threatens you is priority because you got 1 hit points, and anything faster than you is going to be bad. But after that, you know, you just flail and then coverage like Flail Shadow Claw, because it's either going to be a solid hit, or at least Shadow Claw is going to find those neutral hits on Steel-type Pokemon and super effectives on Ghost. So you just hit with the Shadow Claw, you're still at +1, insane amounts of damage, good amounts of just backup on that. So yeah, that's pretty much what you want to do with the Bewear if you're running this crazy set right here. Some other options if you're running Bewear in doubles, it's just a bulky threat that they eventually have to deal with it, and you can also run the wide guard. So wide guard Bewear might catch your opponent off guard if you can predict some kind of just Orangaroo double shenanigans, or if they're going for Earthquake, Rock Slide, Surf, Heat Wave. You know, the list of moves that are trying to hit both opponents is pretty big, so you just wide guard for it, and then Bewear can turn around some damage later. You know, if they drop using the Earthquake, they start going for single target damage, Bewear's going to be able to survive that, and then throws a 125 attack your way, and that could really suck. In doubles, I do recommend the Citrus Berry. Also can work really well on that Trick Room, especially if you're using the Hammer Arm to make yourself slower while doing crazy amounts of damage. So now let's go on over and check out some damage calculations. So the Bewear, I'm just looking at how much we can do straight up Adamant Assault Vest with our damage. Against Pokemon like Garchomp, it's not going to be that insane because Garchomp, like I said, the Earthquake is going to bypass that Fluffy ability, so it's not going to give us the best representation. But as you can see here, Return, it's just going to 2-hit KO. That's kind of it. Like, at this Adamant unboosted 125 on the attack, like, that's solid amounts of damage, but it's not finding raw KOs. So the idea is we're just doing more damage than we take. Hopefully we can cheese out some extra damage, go 1.5 for 1, or at least 2 for 1 in the end. Let's bring out Pokemon like the Weavile. Weavile will not get 1-hit KO'd by the Return, so if we're just running neutral damage, it's not a super guarantee right there, but a lot of the damage that Weavile has is not going to work as well. And then I'm guessing that Icicle Crash is actually a move that does not make contact. So depending on what contact is happening, what contact isn't happening, the damage numbers are going to change around. But just kind of shows that Bewear is not one-shotting things unless it is super effective damage. So let's go and bring up some other things. I was looking into Tapu Koko, because what about with that Assault Vest, how much damage are we going to be taking from like some crazy kind of special attacks? And the Thunderbolt is looking pretty solid. So 2-hit KO with the Thunderbolt if it's under that electric terrain with the Life Orb, Tapu Koko, and you have the Assault Vest. So that's kind of like the high end of the spectrum. So most Pokemon are going to be finding those 3-hit KOs against you, which means if you do get the coverage, then it's going to be a bad day for them, such as that Earthquake. So Earthquake in a single battle will be able to almost 1-hit KO Tapu Koko all the time, but 81% chance is pretty nice. So max hit points, max attack, Earthquake, and then that's how you deal with the Tapu Koko and some other Pokemon. Also just looking at some matchups, like Silvally, again, an above average bulky Pokemon. If you hit it with that super effective hit, that Hammer Arm is going to be enough to 1-hit KO. So that's why I was like really liking the fighting typing, because whenever I was trying to look for damage matchups, like, oh, Weavile, well, that dies to Hammer Arm. Silvally, well, that dies to the Hammer Arm. So if it just hits super effective on the Hammer Arm, you're good to go. And then the Ice Punch coverage is going to be pretty nice as well. Let's go. Like, the thing about Ice Punch, though, is that it has to be a super effective hit for 4 times damage, because the base power is 75. So Return or Hammer Arm after the stab is going to be at 150 as well. So unless those moves are being resisted, then Ice Punch super effective is the one that you're looking for. So Ice Punch super effective is just there for that 4 times coverage, much like any other move that you would put on the Bewear. You have Payback as an option if you want to run that, the Shadow Claw against those Ghost-type Pokemon. That way, at least you have something reliable against them. So you can take off the Ice Punch, put in the Shadow Claw, or the Payback instead. Payback could be a very big option because it's just more damage that you're expecting to be slower. You're taking the hit, and then you're dealing 100 base power instead of 75 with that. And then I was just looking into the like most insane damage stuff right here. So ignore the return. I just have this set to flail right here. So it's going to be 200 base power if we're at 1% hit points. I want to see how much damage we can do to like the most bulky defensive Pokemon that we could find. So full hit point, full defense, bold nature Toxapex has a chance, like a higher chance of getting KO'd by our +1. So this is bulk up. We take the damage. We're running our Salac Berry into flail and whatnot. Our damage does get pretty ridiculous, so pretty much everything is going to die, and even some Pokemon that resist it that aren't very tanky. Let's go and pull up the Lycanroc. So Lycanroc's midday form still dies to the resisted flail. Like, that's kind of crazy right there. And then we do find those outspeeds because it is a 112 base speed Pokemon. We do have to worry about Accelerock and this Sucker Punch, but those are just semantics. I'm trying to bring up some examples of how much damage this Bewear set does. So fairly gambly on that Bewear set, and also just kind of showing, I think people overestimate how bulky Bewear is. Oh, also we didn't look into the choice band. I think people overestimate how bulky the Bewear is, because you're still getting 2-3 KO'd by a lot of things, but 125 attack, unless you have that choice band, unless you're boosting into that damage, is not going to be a crazy amount, and Bewear doesn't have sustain. So in future generations, if we get move tutors and it gets the Drain Punch, yes, bulk up Drain Punch is going to be like the most insane thing on the Bewear. And if you're running a bulk up set, you can't use the choice band. You can't use the Life Orb because I feel that takes away too much of like your bulkiness by taking that burn damage right there. You can't run the Assault Vest, so that means you have to run like a Citrus Berry or an Iapapa Berry, and then that means you're getting in those ranges. But if you can like bulk up, survive a hit, get the boost from your berry, and then turn it around, that is another option, but then you're losing coverage. So I'd just say get rid of the Ice Punch and then run that bulk up instead. That could definitely work on the Bewear. And then let's go and look at the choice band damage. So choice band, I think a good one would be like against the Silvally or something. So let's go and change that around, which means effectively item, choice band, and then we're finding more damage. But again, a neutral hit is not KOing these bulkier Pokemon. So something like the Garchomp is just straight up not going to die to something like the Return. So we'll need that extra little bit of coverage right there. And if we're running Earthquake, we're giving up the Ice Punch, we're taking damage from the Rough Skin. So there's all kinds of weird things. The Bulk Up does give us an effective +1. Choice Band gives us an effective +1. So we take a big hit, we bulk up, we survive the next hit, we turn around some damage, and then that's where we would need our Berry to come into play. So there's a lot of really interesting tech and odd scenarios that you'll get yourself into with the Bewear. But I still think it's a pretty solid Pokemon. Like, it runs out, it works, and for just a bulky attacker that's meant to have no sustain, that just breaks things down, like you have Earthquake against the Toxapex, you have all this extra damage and all this extra utility against different bulkier Pokemon. So I think it works as a wall breaker. I think it works as a one-off tank hitting Pokemon. But like I said, I don't see many situations where it's going to go 2 for 1. It's going to go 1 for 1, get a little bit of an extra hit, and then that's it. So if you can neutralize your opponent's advantages with it, Bewear is going to be successful, and that's kind of why I see it for. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.